critiquing it. Hopefully you've checked out some of those. And I'm continuing to move forward with that series. But in the meantime, I wanted to take a minute and do a video and talk about portfolios and reviews and what to show people when you are trying to get someone to look at your art. So one of the things that happened when I started out going to comic book conventions and things of that nature, they still had a lot of publishers that would have booths, and you could go and talk to editors, talk to artists and stuff, and they were actively looking for new people to hire. Today, you don't see that as much. The publishers aren't investing in going to a convention. You'll see smaller publishers or independent publishers, but your Marvels, your DCs, your Image Comics, your a few others. You don't see them have the big presence that they did 10 years ago, for example. So if you go and you want to show your artwork to someone at a comic book convention, it's going to be a little bit different. You can still, many publishers still have ways to submit your artwork, but you're not submitting necessarily for a critique. When you do submissions to a publisher, they're not going to take the time to go through necessarily and say, well, we liked it, but here's where you could improve, and you should do this. They're not going to give you tips. They're either going to contact you because they like your work and want to hire you, or they're not going to contact you. And that tells you you need to keep working. But when you go to a show, you can talk to folks. And here's a couple of things I wanted to talk about before I actually get to some examples of the difference between what you show and what you don't show. I just want to talk about the etiquette. So you will find publishers, both indie publishers and people who are self-publishing. When you go to a convention, the people who are there behind the booths are there because it's their job, right? They have paid money, and sometimes a lot of money, to be at these shows. There are expenses for the table, there are expenses for their travel, there are expenses for the things that they print that they're trying to sell. There's all this stuff that costs them money. And so for you to go up and ask them to take the time away from their business to look at your artwork and give you basically a quick art lesson or, that kind of a thing, it's not necessarily the politest thing to do. And I would highly recommend, even if it's $5 or $10, buy something from their booth. Buy something that artist is selling. If it's a $5 print, if it's a $5 comic, if it's a $10 comic, whatever the cheapest thing they have is, buy something. Spend some time. Hang around at the table. Ask them some questions. Build a little bit of a back and forth rapport. Because again, these people are there and they're working hard. And it is a hard job. It really is. It's fun to be at a convention, but it's very much like being at a trade show for any other business. And you wouldn't necessarily walk up to, somebody at a technology trade show and ask them to look at, hey, here's this coding that I put together for a program. Can you take a look at it for me? That's not how you would do it. So don't forget these people are working. And then, so again, you have sort of three sorts of people that you're going to find. You're going to find publishers. Those are good folks to check out. Self-publishers are probably not going to be looking necessarily to hire, right? Because they do their own work. If they do, it's probably not going to be much money. Maybe it's no money. But if you're starting out and you just want to get the opportunity, maybe a self-publisher would come and say, I do need an artist, or I need an inker or a colorist, or whatever it is you do. That's probably the number one intro level thing. Artists also probably won't hire you. There's not a lot of artists who then hire out work necessarily, but they know people. So an artist who's working on a book, who's working for a publisher, sees something they like, and they can recommend, hey, if you're looking to hire somebody, I saw this guy, I've got his information, or this girl, I've got their information, their work is great, I think you should hire. Sometimes, depending on what you do, so if if your skill set is to collaborate, meaning, so myself, I draw the comics, so I do pencils, I do inks. I would be looking for a colorist. So if you color comics and I end up getting a job for a publisher and I like the way you color and you've shown me your samples and we've looked at them together, I might recommend you to be, hey, this is the person I would like you to hire to color my comics for. So that is a way to do it. But again, they're probably not going to be the person who says, hey, I'm going to give you a job right now. The publishers are the ones that could potentially offer you a job when you talk to them at a show. So what you're looking for in that case is a booth where they have maybe multiple comics that they've sold, multiple issues. Maybe and you can see it's done by different artists, right? So if they have one book and there's one artist, they've already got what they need. They're not necessarily looking. But if they have multiple books and you can see that different people work on those books, then they might be looking to expand. They might be looking to replace somebody. They might be looking for a fill-in artist, and that's, again, just your foot in the door. So those are some of the things that you're looking for. Again, to go back a little bit, to talk to artists. So a publisher is going to tell you more along the lines of you're ready, you're not ready. They're going to give you very high level stuff. I like your storytelling, but you got to work on your anatomy. Or I like your character work here. Your expressions are great, but you need to work on your shading. Whatever. Pretty high level stuff. An artist, depending on how busy they are, may have the time to give you a more in-depth review. So if you feel like you're not there yet, but you're just looking for those tips, those things that are going to bring you to the next level, and then you're going to submit work, or then you're going to talk to a publisher, working with an artist or getting in touch with an artist is great. Somebody who would be willing to give you their contact information, have you send them stuff later, is amazing. And you'd be surprised how many people are willing to do that. Just about everybody who is working in comics has come up through the exact same process of what I'm describing. They've gone through the weeds to the point where they've paid their dues and now they're willing to do some, to give a hand to the next person, the way they work. So you'd find, I think, a lot of artists that are willing to do that. So again, if you're looking for more of a lesson, then artists are great. Those are the people, if they have some time, if they're not super busy, definitely check them out and ask them to help you out. So now I want to talk about some things that you should show them that would be helpful and things not to show them. Now again, this is all based around wanting to be a comic book artist drawing the pages, because that's what I do. If you are a colorist, some of this is going to still sort of apply. If you're an inker, this is definitely still going to apply. If if you're a letterer or a writer, it's going to be a little bit different. That's going to be more, I think, through a traditional submission process, where you're going to keep sending in your stuff and have them look at it. So first I'm going to start with what I see often, and I'm going to show you some examples on my own, and then show you why you wouldn't want to show this to somebody to get help to get a review or a critique at a comic book show. So I'm going to check the camera, switch the camera over, and we're going to check out the artwork real quick and point out the differences of what we're looking for. Okay. So this is the very first thing that I'm going to tell you is this is a sketchbook, right? And we all have bunches of them. Anybody who's an artist, you've got tons of these kinds of bound sketchbooks. Great stuff. These are for you to work out your thoughts, work out your ideas, work out your plans. These are not the things that you show professionals for a number of reasons. One is this is not the size that you would work on for comic books. This is, let's see the size. This sketchbook is This is 9 by 12. And then I have another one with some examples I'm going to show you. This is 11 by 14. An actual comic book page is here. This is 11 by 17. This is the size that you work on. So first of all, you're not showing them that you know about the proper materials, the proper size. You're just showing them a drawing. This is what I see a ton. So I see sketchbooks, and I see tons, page after page of character drawings, character designs. That's not going to be helpful, and here's why. Odds are good when you start out in comic books, you will not be drawing your own characters. You will be drawing somebody else's stuff. Unless you start at the beginning self-publishing, you are going to draw other people's characters. And so showing them that you can design a cool character, or I have these ideas, isn't necessarily going to give you the job, because they don't want your idea. They want you to work on their idea. So just an example, showing them character sketches isn't going to do anything for them. The other part is I can look at this from a critique standpoint, and I can talk about, and I have no idea. I can tell you, this is years old. This is probably over 10 years old. So it's not my most current, newest work. That's a big thing. Don't show somebody old work, because, and I get that a lot. People go, they'll come up, they'll put this up on my table. They'll ask, can you take a look at my work? Sure. They'll put it up and go, well, this is kind of old, so it's not necessarily my best. If it's not your newest and it's not your best thing, don't show it, right? Because all I'm doing is I'm looking at something that you've already probably learned from, right? So don't show old stuff. And I can look at this and talk about, well, I can talk about your shading, I can talk about your anatomy, I can talk about proportion. So I can talk about the figure, how you draw a figure standing there. But I don't know if you know how to tell a story. I don't know if you know how to do expressions. I don't know if you know how to lay out a page. I don't know any of those things from this. This just shows me that you can draw a figure standing there. But that's not what comics are. Comics aren't a figure standing there. Comics are people moving and acting and talking. And it's more of that than it is the cool pose of the person standing in the shadow looking awesome. If you draw Batman, you're gonna draw a lot more pages and panels of Batman talking to Alfred, Batman talking to Commissioner Gordon, Robin talking to Batman, the cave, the streets, the villains in a warehouse. You're going to maybe draw 10% of it is going to be Batman punching the Joker, right? You do all that other stuff to get to the cool 10%. But most of it is those other things. And none of that is here on the page. None of that is shown here. So this doesn't really help you out. But this is great for a person, an individual, like if you're trying to design a costume and you want to see what it looks like and what would the guy look underneath and doing that, that's what sketchbooks are for. So that's one example of the kind of stuff that I see all the time. And then again, this is some more of the same thing. So you have these big sketchbooks, and then people are like, yeah, this is this robot thing I came up with, and there's a whole story, and they tell you about it, and then I've got, this cool alien girl figure, and this guy, and then you see there's sort of like there's a not scribbled out, but a real lightly penciled figure over there that wasn't finished. There's just some ideas. And all you get is some ideas. And again, this doesn't tell me anything. And I'm not going to go, wow, that is the coolest, four-armed robot guy I've seen. I want to publish this book. I'm looking for somebody who's going to tell a story and is going to tell my story. So that's not going to help you out too much. And then here again, I see this all the time. They'll have faces like this. I've got a couple of my main characters. These are characters I made up, and that's this is what they're telling me. I hear it constantly. Oh, these are the characters I made up. It's part of a story, and then then you flip the page and you'll see like the next page would have them in a big group, cool shot or whatever, like it would look like a cover. But it's not helping me to understand, can you draw comics? Can you draw faces? Can you draw different faces, right? So this guy doesn't necessarily look like this guy, and these girls have different looks and stuff. That's good, but I'm not going to hire you. I'm not going to pay you money to draw just because you can draw some different faces. Okay, so think about that. The sketchbooks are not the way to go when it comes to showing your samples. Here's what you want. These are pages from a comic that I drew. And I'm trying to get the whole thing in there. These are a very good type of sample to give, and I'll tell you why. Not a lot that happens. And it sounds counterintuitive. Why would you show someone comics are about action, cool stuff, and amazing stuff, and fun, and all this kind of crazy things? Why would you show somebody pages where not a lot happens? Because again, this is where the story's told. So here I've got a picture of a group of people in a car. So you can tell I can draw a car, and it's a real car. It's not. It doesn't look weird. You don't know exactly what model it is or what kind of car it is, but it looks like a real car. I didn't make it up. It's not a space car. It's not whatever. This is a real car, and they're driving the road, and I've got kind of a slight what they call a Dutch angle, where it's angled to kind of make it a little more interesting to show some motion and that kind of stuff. Then we've got them. What does it look like when people are riding in a car? The hair is blowing, so the guy's moving his head and he's looking around because the girl's hair is blowing in his face, and then he tells him, "Hey, you gotta wait, you gotta turn over here." And so you can see now they flipped to show that they changed direction, right? So they go one way, then they go the other way, and then they're going back the other way. Now he tells them, "No, you gotta pull over here." And now we've got here. This would have been colored. This would have been colored as like a sunset, hence the way the clouds are. And then now we've gotten to the point where it's night, so the lights are on, we've got shadows on the road, so you can see that there's a time has passed. I'm showing the car from different angles, so you can see that I can draw the car from more than one angle. I've got the layout, so this is giving you a sense of movement and time, pace, right? They stop, and the guy's pointing over here and saying, "Okay, wait, it's over here in the woods. We got to go over there." Now he's pointing down. There's this dirt road that they stopped at. He's going, "Hey, we're going this way." The girl has like an earpiece, so she's got some dialogue. So she's talking to somebody on the radio on the earpiece. Like, "Hey, we reached this spot," and so again, it's got an option for storytelling. Something's going on. The guy now is heading into the woods. The girls are discussing, do we follow him? Do we not? What's going to happen? He's looking around. They follow him. They're getting their weapons ready. He tells them we got to go into through the trees and the bushes. These two follow. Again, weapons out. This girl's like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And then goes, "Okay, fine. I'll go with you." And she's cutting her way through the bushes. So again, some storytelling where you have interaction with the characters, you get a feel for who's on board. This girl's obviously kind of not really on board. You've got backgrounds, you've got perspective and depth as far as the road goes. You've got some different layers here. You've got something in the close foreground. We've got from behind, so you have a scene where you're seeing over the shoulder, so you can see that I move the camera around. These are all things, lighting. I'm showing you all this stuff, and nobody's punching anybody. Nobody's swinging from a building, nothing like that. Now the guy's telling him, "Oh, we got to go through this there's a little hole in the bushes," and then you see him go through. So having these three pictures, boom, 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 is that pacing. Here's where we go. I'm going through. She goes first. Now they reach another side. There's a fence. And we got to go over the fence. He starts to climb. She tells him, no, hold on. She can cut the fence. So she cuts the fence. And now they go through. and he's pointing, here's where we need to go. You can see she's through the fence, she's through, she's kind of still behind. So you've got depth. You have foreshortening of the hand pointing. We've got not really a close-up, but a little bit more of a kind of a mid shot, but then we also have long shots where the figures are smaller. Again, here's up close, profile shots, things of that nature. So this is showing, again, a whole bunch of different tools, styles, things that you need to know how to do to tell comic stories. Nobody's punching anybody. Nobody's swinging off a building. Nobody's blasting anybody. Nobody's flying. This is just straight up comic book storytelling 101. These are the things you want to show. It's done on the right size paper. It's done with the right size tools. This tells somebody, I know what I'm doing. So now when you go to look at it from a critique standpoint, people aren't critiquing, well, do you know what paper to use? Do you know what size to use? They don't have to worry about telling me about the anatomy. They don't have to worry to tell me about the proportions. We don't have to talk about things like the perspective, because here, this is going back to a one-point perspective. The perspective is right because I took the time and did it right. Things like the car. Nobody has to take time to go, well, listen, you had to draw a car in the story. You didn't really draw the car. You should really reference a car. And we don't have to spend any time on that. We can spend time on how could you tell the story differently? How could you tell the story better? Should things be moved in the panel? Should this, would a publisher or an artist recommend that this panel is bigger than this panel? Should I have varied those up? Those are the tips you want, that next level kind of stuff. Tell me what you think about the pacing, the movement, the panel size and layout. Should I have been more creative with the panels? These are all squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panels on a page. None are particularly big. Should I have blown up this panel much bigger? Maybe made this panel smaller. Maybe I only needed, instead of drawing more of the figures, maybe I only needed this much to get the same message across, right? Or maybe this one should have been smaller, or big, whatever. That's the kind of input that you're really looking for when you're ready to go to that next level and potentially get someone to hire you to draw their comic. Should these faces have been bigger? Okay? Maybe the girls should have been higher up on the page. Looking at it now, I think I had some room where I wanted some dialogue from them, but maybe it would have made sense to be larger on the page. Maybe this one should have been more of a close-up. Maybe I didn't need so much of the rest of her body. Maybe I should have just done a close-up of her cutting the fence. Maybe that makes more sense. Again, these are the tips that people will be able to give you if you have this to give them. And this is the job. The sketchbook stuff, that's not the job. The idea of this is my cool character that I drew when I was hanging out at home, sitting on the couch, that is not the job. This is the job. So if this is the job you want, show them that you can do it. So this isn't a very long video, but again, I see this a lot where I have folks who come to my table when we're doing conventions, which hopefully 2021 will get us back there. And people ask me these questions. Hey, how do I, or they ask me, can you look at my work? And then they just show me sketchbooks and newspaper and character designs and pinups, right? So just a cool character jumping or splashing or whatever. We can find something like that and show. So from the same issue here, like this is a good page. This is a cool shot. The girls in the story all geared up, ready to go. This is the big splash page with a little insert. The guy talking to them on the headset. We got knives, we got guns, we got a car in the back. The girls are looking great. The faces are drawn, they're pretty. It's inked well. So do I show this page? No, because this isn't telling the story. All you can do to look at this is tell me, okay, let's talk about how you draw the figure. Let's talk about how you draw the face, then maybe the shading, things of that nature. But what it doesn't give somebody the opportunity to do is to look and tell, how can I do stories better? And comics is about telling stories. So this again, even though this is much more professional, right? And this is in that same issue. This is published work. So is this a page that I would show a publisher or an editor to try to get a job at a different company? No, absolutely not. You show this. This gives them more to talk to you about than this stuff, even though this is much prettier. So that's the point I'm making. I hope it has helped out. I hope it answers questions. If you have questions, if you want to have me look at your work, if you want to have somebody do an online review, I would love it. Let me know in the comments below. Reach out to me on social media. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Jerry Rasco. Obviously here on YouTube at Jerry Rasco. Please. It's something I really enjoy doing. I love helping out other artists. And if there's anything that I can do, let me know. Like I said, I love um, getting into it and talking art with people. Um, so reach out and I'll be happy to do that. In the meantime, thank you so much for checking out this shorter video. I appreciate it. We will get back to the next one will be more critiquing. Um, I hope you all have a safe and wonderful, happy holiday season. And here's to 2021 being a fun, safe, and happy year. Thank you so much, and we'll be seeing you next time.